Are you ready for another just one layer cake quilt? I love making these videos. They're so much fun for me because I get to play and try out some new designs. So much fun. And I love that you can make a whole quilt with just one layer cake. Now, anytime you have a pack of 10-inch squares, by the way, that's a layer cake, and layer cake is Moda's brand, so they sometimes are called stackers if they're different ones. Different companies, they all have their own name for them, but it's basically all the same. It's 10 inches square of fabric, and there's 42 usually. Usually it's the entire line, not always, sometimes, mostly, usually. So the one we're gonna use today is Acorn Hollow by Moda, and the designer is BasicGrey. I love this one, it's so pretty. I think it's gonna work up nice. Now I haven't made a sample of this. I did make a few sample blocks, but I didn't actually make a sample of this quilt with this fabric. So we'll see, hopefully it turns out. Who knows? Your guess is as good as mine. This isn't a new pattern. This is something you see a lot of, but I hope to put a new little bit of spin on it, especially dealing with those pinked edges, which I don't love, as you know. All right, let's open this up and see what we have. Ooh, so pretty. All right, let's see. Oh my goodness. Let me move these up. Hopefully you can see them. Oh my goodness, these are so pretty. I mean, look at this one. Look at how cute all the little critters on there. These are beautiful, even better in person. I bought these online, so let's see. Oh my goodness. Oh. All right, so we're going to be making a very basic square with a border around it. You may have seen this before other places. I think it's kind of a cool pattern, but I'm gonna do my own little take on it like I normally do. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna match up contrasting prints. And what I mean by that is these are very dark, as you can tell. Even these are dark, and we can pull out some of the dark ones. And if you have trouble trying to figure that out, you can use a ruby beholder, or you can take a black and white photo and see what's light and what's dark. I don't think it's gonna be as big of an issue with this pattern as it is on some, other than you don't want to put two that are super light together. So I wouldn't want to take this one and use it together, unless that's the look you're going for. So we're looking for contrast. So I'm going to take some of my lights, or light that look light to me, because let's see. So if you had like this one and this one, this is a better example. This would go, even though this might be a medium print. That's okay. So that kind of looks really nice together. Like I said, I've never made this before, so I'm trying to think it through in my head, take you along with me, because now I'm thinking maybe I separate these into background color. Let's do that. All right, so I know that these are like a light beige background. This is more turquoise, and it's already kind of done like that for us. This reads to me more light. That's a turquoise. Pull these over here. These are pinks. Of course, this one. Maybe over here. Yeah, I like that. These are more yellows. And then we got some blacks. And more of this brown color. That kind of falls into this category in my brain. All right, I like that. All right, so I think what we're gonna do then is just match up, not the same color. So I'm not gonna put two of the turquoise together, or two of the pink, or two of the brown, whatever. I think that's gonna give us the contrast we need, hopefully. Your guess is as good as mine. We'll see what this all turns out to be. Okay, so we're gonna get to this. We're gonna just swap these up or mix them up and make sets of two. And I'm looking for things that go together. Like this one is so cute with this plaid. I love this plaid. Look at how cute that is. So we're gonna put those together. And you should get 21 sets because there's 42. Now this is the second piece of this Some of these have 2 fabrics. I think there's 4 that have duplicates. So I want to make sure I'm not putting it with another duplicate. I want to have that variety. Maybe I'll go with this turquoise. I like that. All right, so I'm going to go through and do that with all of these and make sets. Oh, the other thing, I don't want to put 2 of the same pattern together. I mean, you could. It doesn't really matter, but for me in my brain, I don't want to do that. Totally make your own rules, however. Okay, I have them all in sets of 2, and now's the time to cut and to start preparing these pieces. All right, and that's a little bit of a scary part, but we're gonna be fine. Let's do it. So I'm gonna start with 2 of the squares. And oh, by the way, thank you all for the advice on the glare on the rulers. I got a lot of emails and everything and messages. Thank you so much. I'm starting with the least invasive, which is hairspray on it, and then I'll work up to like the paint and stuff. I think it's helping some. Maybe not, we'll see. This will be the test. Now you can do 2 at a time if you want. Actually, I want to pick one that has a nice contrast so you can see it definitely on camera. All right, let's go with these 2. They're not well, they're pretty, but they're not as pretty as some of the other ones, but it will work. You can do these 2 at a time if you want to, or more than that if you want to, but for me, I'm gonna stick with 1 at a time. Okay, so we're going to just trim off that pinked edge, and there's a little bit of waste with this. If you don't want to have any waste, I'll show you how to make it without, but personally, I'm okay with the waste because it gets rid of the pinked edges. All right, so I'm gonna just line up that little edge and cut and pull that away. Next, I'm gonna flip it around. See, I'm learning, I'm not cutting with both hands. And I'm gonna measure over 4.5 inches. And I'm lining up that edge right here on the 4.5. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4.5 mark. And I'm lining it up so this is straight. I'm not real worried about these edges here and here, but definitely that line. And that's at 4.5. And I'm gonna cut. Did I get that? Felt like I didn't get it all. I didn't get it all. Okay, pull that away. Now the one that I cut the 4.5 out of, I'm gonna go in and just trim up that edge again, this side. Flip it around, and I'm gonna measure over 4.5 inches. It's gonna give me a 4.5 by 4.5 inch square. Now for this cut, I'm lining up right here, and here, and here. All right, and then I'm gonna cut. Now I'm gonna go over 2.5 inches. 1, 2.5. Do the same thing, line up my top up here, my bottom here, and cut. And I'm gonna do that again. With the other piece, I'm going to turn it so it's this direction, trim off the edge, and again lining up my cut edge, which is up here. Then I'm going to flip this around and go over 8.5 inches. And this time I'm lining up here and here. I'm not worried too much about this one because it's the pinked edge. So I'm going over 8.5, which that's 9.5. See, this is why you got to double check. 8.5. Double check it. I don't know, we might be able to make something out of that. Maybe some coasters or something little. Okay, now I'm going to turn this back around this way. So the pinked edge that's left over is on this side. This is the cut edge. And we are going to go over 2.5 inches. And I'm lining up here, 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 and cutting. Two and a half. And cutting. You're going to cut this exact same thing out of all 42 of these. Now keep the sets together, or I like to keep the sets together because we already matched them. We already did the work, and it'll make sense once I do this other piece. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this other piece the exact same way, and I'll show you how we lay this out to make the block. Okay, the pieces for one set are cut, and a few others, but the pieces for one set are right here. I'm gonna show you how you put this together, and then I'm gonna show you alternative ways, and I'm also gonna show you why I cut it the way I do, and why I don't do 5 inches like a lot of people do. So let's get started. All right, so you actually are making 2 blocks with this as you cut the 2 pieces, or sets I should say. And this is one block. And the other block, let me move some of my stuff, is the opposite, which is just like this. So now I'm going to show you how a lot of people make this block. They make it a tad bigger. They don't trim off those edges like I did. I just want to give you that option because it might be something you like. For me, it doesn't work because of the pinked edges, but you might love it. So let's try it. Here's a 10-inch square, and instead of trimming this off like I do, you can just go over 5 inches, line it up, and cut. Next, you can go over 2.5 inches and cut. And these should be both 2.5 inches. Next, you take that original piece that you cut, and we're going to cut it to 5-inch square. Like that. And these should be both 2.5 inches, which they are. Now these are going to be a little long, so you can trim them up. I think it's 9 inches. I'll have to figure out the math, but it's 9 inches instead of the 10. So that is one way of doing it. There's very little waste when you do it that way. Now I don't love that way, and the reason I don't, well, there's a few reasons. First of all, the pinked edges, which I know I've harped on. But the other reason is if you have any directional fabric, it doesn't give you a spot to correct it. And I'm going to show you what I mean. I noticed that this piece wasn't exactly straight. It was cut a little at an angle. When you're using the method that I'm using, where I cut the 4.5-inch square and then 2.5, 2.5, and then cut those down, you get the opportunity to straighten this up a little bit. So actually it looks a little crooked this way, so I'm going to do it that way. And I can lay my ruler down and line up my lines on those lines so I can make it straighter at the very least, if not straight. Take off that edge, and then I'll turn it around instead of cutting with both hands. And then I'm going to go over the 4.5 inches here, lining up that edge. And I'm looking now at my plaid lines, which are looking good. If we didn't have that little bit of wiggle room, we wouldn't be able to straighten up those offcuts. And then you don't use that piece, or you may not use that piece, and I hate that. So this really works well. All right, one last thing I'm going to show you on cutting, and yeah, it's another alternative way to cut it the way I cut it. I'll add chapters in here so you guys can bounce around too. If you don't want to see this, you can click ahead. No big deal. I'm going to cut off that edge. I'm going to go over the 4.5. I forgot to turn it around. Let me turn it around. When you cut with both hands, you just automatically do it. All right, it's my superpower. Okay. Go. And then what you can do is go right to this piece and do your 2.5 and 2.5. And I will do that real quick. So instead of cutting this down to 8.5 inches, that's what I mean, okay? But I'm going to show you why I don't like it as much. All right, so here are the pieces for that. And the thing I don't like about it is you get these 2 little tiny scraps versus a nice bigger scrap. So I feel like you could have more options with a bigger scrap like this than these two. That's just my opinion. You can cut it however you want. Honestly, you can. No big deal. Now I'm gonna grab some design boards, and where I'm at, this is the one, right? I think. Now I'm all confused. This is the one we're gonna sew together. I'm gonna show you how to sew this one together. So what I'm gonna do is sew these two sides together first. And I might as well make the other block at the same time. And that's another thing with construction. Find your own rhythm with this. You may want to do all the centers together and just chain stitch them through. You may want to do 2 blocks at a time, 1 block at a time, whatever it is. Just find your own rhythm with it. All right, I'm going to take these to the machine, and all I'm doing is sewing a 1/4 inch down on both sides, and then I'm going to set my seams, which I'll show you, and press, and I'll talk about that when we do it. I'll be right back. All right, these are all sewn. I'm just going to hit it with the iron, and that's going to set our seams. All right, next I'm going to open these up. It doesn't matter which way you press them, however you want to. If you want to press them open, that's fine. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to finger press it. I like to go to the dark side, but I think it's just because that's the way I've always done it. But whatever you want to do is fine. So now we have our middles. Grab another design board here. This one's really dirty. I gotta clean it. Oh well. All right. And this one goes on here like that. I don't know where my other pieces are. Here, I'll grab one of those. And this one's gonna go on here. So all I'm doing is placing them on like this, and I'm gonna sew 1/4 inch on both sides. Super easy block to construct. And I'm using, like I said, a 1/4 inch. Same thing with this one. I'm just gonna place this on here, sew it, and place this one on here and sew it, and I'll be right back. All right, these are sewn. I'm just going to set my seams. And again, press to the dark side. This doesn't matter, honestly. I'll show you how we put it together. You're not gonna have anything matching. It's gonna be fine. Look at how pretty. I love them. And when they're mixed in with the rest of them, it's gonna look so great. Now, a few variations, you can make these all scrappy and mix them all up if you want to. You could put them on point. You can do all kinds of fun stuff with them. You can put something special in the middle. You could use scraps. There's all kinds of options with these. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and finish up all of mine. They're all set, ready to go. Sew these together and get them going. I don't think there's anything else I need to tell you. All right, I am gonna just mention this now. When we put these in rows, I'll mention it again when we're at the design board. When you put these in rows, you're going to keep the, okay, so we're gonna flip them over. I'm gonna show you. So you see how 2 sides have it horizontal seams and 2 sides have vertical. That's what you're gonna do for your layout. It will make more sense when we go to the design board, and I'll explain it again, but you can see then you don't have any seams matching, so you don't have to worry about that. It just makes it easier when you're constructing this particular quilt. All right, I'm gonna get to sewing, and then I will see you at the design board when all the blocks are done. We'll put this thing together. All right, so I have this laid out, and this block is 8.5 by 8.5, just like it is now, so that would be considered unfinished. Once it's sewn together, of course, the seam allowance will be taken up, so it'll be 8 by 8. And I have it laid out 6 across and 7 down, so it makes a nice size quilt. Of course, you're limited because of the layer cake. You could also put borders, you could put sashing if you wanted it a little bit bigger. You could even add a whole nother layer cake and make it really big. A simple block, but it is so effective. So I laid this out this morning. It's the next day, by the way. And I kind of left it up on my design board and moved it around. I might even make some more tweaks to it before I sew it together. But one thing for sure that I did was I alternated the seams. We have the blocks that we have the 2 side seams and then the top and the bottom for this one. This one I have the 2 smaller pieces here and the longer ones here. So instead of laying it out so all the long pieces are together, that's gonna make it really hard to put together because you'll have to keep changing the seams. I just rotated every other one. That way it's not even gonna be an issue. So for this one, I made it go, the long seams go this way, this one this way, this one this way, and then it's the opposite for the next row, and so on. So I just kept going like that. To sew this together, I always struggle with this. I know people that have a really easy time of it. I really am just gonna take the design board and probably put it right by my sewing machine and sew one at a time. I really admire people that can do it and make stacks and all that. I am not that person. I struggle with it. But if you want some tips on that, you can take a picture with your phone, use that as a template. You can also start just with 2 rows and sew that together and go from there. Now, I'm not gonna be able to finish it completely today. I will sew the top together and show that to you. But I am going to order, I think, this fabric. This is my favorite in the line. And I think that's what I'm gonna use for the backing. I'm loving it. And I think when it's quilted, it's just gonna come alive. Not sure how I'm quilting it. I'm thinking in a plaid type of way. And I'm gonna be using my walking foot. We'll see. All right. I am gonna get to sewing. Look how pretty! Oh my goodness, I love how this turned out. This is so much fun. This fabric is amazing, but this would work with any fabric line. You could even use scraps. I can just see it for high school graduates going off to college. You could do college colors, you could do sports teams, all kinds of different things. Even plaids, flannels, all kinds of things that you could do with this. All this information is up on my blog, so you can check it out. You can sign up for my newsletter if you want to and stay in touch with all of the Sew the Distance happenings too. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you take some time to sew. I'll see you real soon. Bye.